Imagine two plates on a table. On one plate, there is a crab. It looks armored. It has claws. It has legs like a tiny sea monster. To eat it, you may need a hammer, a cracker, a small fork, and patience. You have to break it open, pull the meat out, and work around the shell. On the other plate, there is a frog. Soft body, long legs, no hard shell, no claws, no armor. In some ways, it looks much closer to ordinary meat than the crab does. And yet, in many parts of the world, the crab feels like dinner. The frog feels like a dare. That is strange. Why did humans learn to pile crabs on tables, steam them by the basket, cover them in butter, sell them in seafood markets, and turn them into a luxury dish, while frogs stayed unusual, suspicious, or even disgusting to many people? Why do people eat crabs but not frogs? The first thing to fix is the question itself. People do eat frogs. Frog legs are eaten in France. They are eaten in parts of China, Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, Cambodia, and other parts of Southeast Asia. They appear in some Southern American food traditions. They are cooked in soups, fried dishes, stews, stir-fries, and garlic butter. So frogs are not impossible food. They are not universally rejected, but they never became globally normal in the same way crabs, shrimp, lobster, fish, or even chicken became normal. And that is the real mystery, because when humans decide what counts as food, biology is only the beginning. A crab and a frog are both edible in the right conditions. Both can provide protein. Both have been eaten by humans. But one entered a huge category called seafood, while the other stayed trapped in a smaller, stranger category. Something some people eat, but many people hesitate to even imagine. The difference begins with where humans found them. Crabs belong to coastlines, rivers, estuaries, mangroves, mudflats, and shallow waters. For coastal communities, crabs were part of a whole world of edible aquatic animals. Fish, clams, oysters, mussels, shrimp, lobsters, and crabs all came from the same environment. If you already eat things from the water, a crab is not that strange. It may look odd, but it fits the pattern. It comes from the sea or the shore. It is caught with nets, traps, baskets, hands, or lines. It can be cooked with other seafood. It smells like seafood, tastes like seafood, and belongs beside other seafood. Crabs had a category waiting for them. Frogs did not. Frogs live in a more confusing place. They are not fish. They are not birds. They are not mammals. They are amphibians, animals that begin life in water and later live partly on land. They sit at the edge of ponds, rice fields, swamps, forests, and wetlands. That makes them biologically fascinating. But culturally, it makes them harder to place. A crab can be treated as seafood. A cow can be treated as livestock. A chicken can be treated as poultry. A frog sits between categories. It jumps. It croaks. It appears after rain. It hides in mud. It feels connected to wet places, night sounds, slime, and transformation. For some cultures, that made frogs useful food. For others, it made them uncomfortable. Food is not only about nutrition. Food is also about imagination. If an animal looks clean, familiar, abundant, and easy to classify, it has a better chance of becoming normal. If it looks slippery, strange, magical, poisonous, or too close to the boundary between land and water, people may hesitate. Frogs live on boundaries, and boundary animals often become taboo. But crabs are strange too. A crab is basically a walking armored box with claws. It scavenges, it can pinch. It does not look like the soft, clean meat people imagine when they think of food. So why did crabs overcome the weirdness? Partly because the reward is obvious. Crab meat is sweet, delicate, and rich. It is hidden inside a shell, but the shell also protects it. Once cooked, the color changes dramatically. A blue, brown, or greenish crab may turn bright red or orange. That color change makes it look finished, almost transformed by cooking. That matters. Cooking does not only make food safer, it makes food socially acceptable. It changes smell, texture, color, and meaning. A raw crab looks like an animal. A cooked crab looks like seafood. Frogs do not transform as dramatically. Frog legs can taste mild, often compared to chicken or fish, but they still look like legs. Small legs. Animal legs, sometimes too recognizable for people who are not used to them. A crab hides its body inside armor. A frog reminds you of the animal. That small psychological difference can be powerful. There is also the matter of abundance. Many crabs can be collected in groups. They may gather in shallow waters, tidal zones, mangroves, reefs, rivers, or estuaries. Traps can catch them repeatedly. Markets can display them alive, fresh, or cooked. Seafood systems can build around them. Frogs can also be abundant in the right season and place, especially around wetlands and rice fields, but they are often more seasonal, smaller, and more tied to local environments. Many edible frogs do not provide much meat beyond the legs. That means a lot of animals may be needed for a relatively small amount of food. A crab may be annoying to eat, but it can feel worth the effort. A frog may require catching, cleaning, and processing many small bodies for a meal that some people still view as odd. That matters for scale. Crabs joined global seafood trade. Frogs remained more regional. And then conservation complicates the story. Amphibians are among the most threatened groups of vertebrates on Earth. Habitat loss, pollution, disease, climate change, invasive species, and overharvesting have all harmed frog populations in different regions. This does not mean every frog dish is destroying nature. Some frogs are farmed. Some harvesting is regulated. Some traditions are local and long-standing. But wild amphibian populations can be fragile. Frogs are often sensitive to environmental change because their skin and life cycle connect them closely to water, soil, and climate. If a food depends on wild frogs, it can become difficult to expand safely. Crabs have conservation problems too. Overfishing, habitat damage, bycatch, pollution, and climate change can all threaten crab fisheries. Seafood is not automatically sustainable just because it is popular, but many crab fisheries and crab farms became part of large seafood management systems. Humans already had boats, markets, docks, traps, cold storage, and seafood trade routes. Crabs could plug into that machine. Frogs were harder to fit into the same global system. Then there is the health question. Frogs, like other amphibians, can carry germs such as salmonella, especially through contact with their bodies, water, or habitats. That does not mean cooked frog meat is automatically unsafe. Proper handling and cooking can reduce foodborne risks, just as they do with chicken, fish, pork, or shellfish. But amphibians carry a different kind of cultural warning. Many people learn as children not to touch frogs or to wash their hands after touching them. Some frogs and toads can produce skin secretions that irritate or poison predators. Some brightly colored amphibians are famously toxic. Even though edible frog species are not the same as poison dart frogs, the association matters. A crab can pinch you. A frog might poison you. That idea is not always scientifically fair, but food taboos do not need to be perfectly fair to survive. They only need to feel right. Religion also plays a role. Different traditions classify animals in different ways. Some food rules place restrictions on creatures based on how they move, where they live, whether they have scales, whether they are considered clean, or whether they are viewed as unsuitable. In some Islamic legal traditions, frogs are not eaten. In some Jewish interpretations, shellfish such as crabs are not permitted, so even crabs are not universally accepted. There are many people who do not eat crabs for religious, ethical, allergic, environmental, or personal reasons. That is important because the question can sound like the whole world agrees on crabs. It does not. Food normality depends on where you stand. In one place, crab is a celebration food. In another, it is forbidden. In one place, frog legs are a delicacy. In another, they are disgusting. In one place, eating insects is ordinary. In another, people react with horror while happily eating shrimp, which are not exactly less strange if you look closely. This is the hidden rule behind almost every "why do people eat this but not that" question. Humans do not eat animals based only on logic. We eat based on habit. And once a habit becomes cuisine, it becomes powerful. A child who grows up at a crab boil learns that cracking shells is normal. The smell, the mess, the seasoning, the table covered in paper, the family arguing over the best pieces, all of it becomes part of the food. A child who grows up eating frog legs may see them the same way. But a child who never sees frogs as food may only see a pond animal, a classroom dissection, a fairy tale creature, or something slimy in the rain. By adulthood, the reaction feels automatic, but it was learned. That is why crabs and frogs can switch places depending on culture. To one person, crab is normal and frog is strange. To another, both are normal. To another, both are off limits. To another, frog is food and crab is forbidden. There is no universal human menu. There are only local histories that became invisible because people repeated them for generations. Still, if we zoom out, crabs had several advantages. They fit into seafood. They offered a clear reward: sweet meat in a protective shell. They could be harvested and sold through fishing systems. They became associated with coastal abundance, feasts, and markets. Frogs had several disadvantages. They were smaller, more seasonal, more tied to wetlands, more culturally ambiguous, more associated with slime or poison, and often less efficient as a large-scale food animal. They could become food. They did become food. But they did not become universally ordinary. And maybe that is the real answer. Crabs did not win because they are less strange than frogs. They won because humans already had a place in the imagination for animals from the water. Seafood can be weird. It can have shells, claws, tentacles, scales, eyes, spines, and strange smells. But once a culture says, "This is seafood," the weirdness becomes part of the appeal. Frogs never receive the same global permission. They remain too close to the pond, too close to the mud, too close to childhood warnings, too close to the boundary between land and water. A crab looks alien, but dinner can hide inside the shell. A frog looks familiar enough that people hesitate, and that may be the strangest part. Sometimes the animal that looks less like us is easier to eat, so the next time you see crab legs piled high on a plate and frog legs treated like a shocking delicacy, remember that the difference is not just biology, it is geography, it is trade, it is religion, it is conservation, it is childhood, it is the story a culture tells about where food is supposed to come from.